All right, we're going to begin, folks. I want to thank everybody so much for coming out to the very first session. Charge that guy double. Just kidding. Josh,
just kidding,
what's up,
triple.
Man? Thanks so much for working with the change in times. My name is Dave Berlin, and I am officially, unofficially with Vets in Tech at this time, but I've been instrumental in helping introduce Jason, who is the chapter lead for Vets in Tech here. I'm working on some internal things with them, to some proposals and things to come on board in a little bit more of a very official capacity here in the next year. But we're here to share with you guys some of the stuff that Vets in Tech has done across the United States and what we intend to do here locally to Las Vegas. So without further ado.
All right, thanks. Who's a veteran? 1, 2, 3. Who is military spouse? Anybody? Who is part of a military family? Who is connected to the military in some way? Through employment? Right, so that's what Vets in Tech is about. All those groups of people are people we're looking to support in our Las Vegas chapter, both nationally. We have national programs for Vets in Tech, and those focus on 3 areas. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Is this Vets in Tech?
This is Vets in Tech, but we also love Pets in Tech as well, so come on in. Good boy. Vets in Tech is about 3 areas. Started out as 3 areas about 10 years ago by Catherine Webster and Craig Newmark, who is the Craig from Craigslist, put a lot of money and energy and effort into supporting our veterans through a program called Vets in Tech, a group called Vets in Tech. And we do that in 3 ways. We do that through education, we do it through employment, and we do it through entrepreneurship. When Dave and I first heard about Vets in Tech about a year and a half ago, we realized that this organization was great for the Las Vegas tech ecosystem and the veteran entrepreneur ecosystem, which Dave and I are both part of all 3 of those things, because it could help us with deepening our tech bench. We have a small but mighty tech community here in Las Vegas. But if you're a founder here and you have tech needs, you know how challenging it is to find that tech talent to help you build your platform, build your tech stack. And if you're an employer looking to hire, how hard it can be to get those really qualified veterans if you're looking to hire veterans. And then the third piece of that is the entrepreneurship. We're looking for those future veteran entrepreneurs in 5 or 6 years. So maybe we can get some of these young kids who are leaving the Air Force. 300,000 young people leave the military every year. We have 2 large bases here. We have a couple of hundred of those kids who leave after their first tour or their second tour in the military, in the Air Force, or whatever service they're in. They leave, and a lot of them leave without knowing what it is they're going to do. A lot of them, if you're a veteran in the audience, you know, sometimes a lot of folks either go back to their hometown, not sure what their plan is, or they go and they take a job, basically sitting at their same desk wearing a polo shirt and khakis, working for a defense contractor, doing exactly what they did before. We're trying to show them that there are options for tech careers and to be a tech entrepreneur here in the Las Vegas area, so we can get some of those really smart kids who are good at tech to stick around in our community. And we're hoping to be a good partner with the tech community, the entrepreneur community here in Las Vegas, and the intersection to make that happen. So all of the Vets in Tech programs, they started out geared towards veterans. They were doing a couple of hundred veterans a year, going through the cybersecurity program, the web design program, a whole bunch of different real technical programs. And then last year, they started including military spouses. Over 1,700 veterans and military spouses graduated from a Vets in Tech program and are now applying those skills that they learned through the year, through the Vets in Tech programs, out in careers, all over the country, all over the world. We're trying to bring not just knowledge of these programs, but get young veterans into these programs, or older veterans who may be thinking about a career change, into the entrepreneurship, education, and especially the workforce development programs. One of the programs I think is really exciting that Vets in Tech is doing, a couple of times a year, they have a virtual job fair. And they have all of these employers get online on a LinkedIn call, and they are ready to hire veterans of all stripes, of all ages, to come in and in most cases be remote workers in these companies, in tech jobs. And so we can provide a lot of opportunities to the veterans who are currently in the community, the young kids who are thinking about getting out of the military, to keep them in Las Vegas, to keep their tech expertise in Las Vegas, while they go work for one of these big companies in a remote capacity. And then those become our future CTOs for non-technical founders here in Las Vegas, or they become the future founders and CTOs of a venture that they try to bring to life here in Las Vegas. So I'm really proud of that. What else? What else do you want to cover?
As we talk about the 3 E's, this is going to be one of the most challenging things that we talk about in Las Vegas because, like many organizations, people hear something, and if anybody's ever been part of the veteran community is very defensive of its own. We're very protective. So a lot of times people, when they see a new organization, they say, "What is it?" And they're like ready to fight, which is great. I love the fight. Marine Corps, by the way. But the interesting thing, and when you look at all these this isn't a wish list. These are our current partners right now. One thing that a lot of times people overlook, this was founded in Silicon Valley. As you said, Craig Newmark, nobody knows who that is. It's Craig from Craigslist, right? It's really easy. And then people are like, oh, I get that. When you talk about education, entrepreneurship, and employment, one thing that Jason and I haven't mentioned yet, we just went to the gala for Vets in Tech. And it was at the Marine Corps, whatever.
The Marine Corps Memorial.
And it was like all of the biggest venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, all at a dinner. And this is business as usual for them. So new to Las Vegas, but not new to the impact that they're making. We're trying to really shift a lot of that energy to come here because we, like many people, see Vegas as the next opportunity for a lot of venture capital, a lot of programs and stuff to run through. So
also, these are just the top 30 that made the banner. There are over 100 Vets in Tech employer partners.
So the big initiative for us in 2024 is to create more local partners. You guys see some people that are home based out of here. DraftKings, that's one of the biggest supporters with Vets in Tech right here. JP Morgan Chase. JP Morgan Chase has hundreds of millions of dollars allotted to diverse entrepreneurial programs all across the United States and beyond. Some of that money has been very dedicated to veterans, and a lot of that money has been dedicated to Vets in Tech. So there's a lot of opportunities where we come in with that. So when it comes into education and employment, it's not only getting them the tech jobs, it's placing them with some of those partners. Right? And when I say placing them, it's a lot of time, like we've already created some partnerships here. And I want to give one example because it was in 2 conversations that I had. Is anybody here familiar with Tao? Tao Hospitality? Tao Hospitality is now the newest partner that has not been put on the banner yet because it happened the week before we went to the gala. And I had a really candid conversation with Eric Kidd with Tao, not just Tao Hospitality, but Tao Cares. How many people here, I said, do you guys hire veterans? Right? And he's like, oh yeah. And I was like, sure. Show me a company that says that they don't. There's not one company that publicly raises their hand and says, we absolutely do not hire veterans. But what I found is there's always the programs that have it as a checkbox, because if they don't, then people will throw rocks at them, right? Or there's people that have an actual initiative. So what we want to help do is we want to help people understand not just to have a checkbox that say, yes, we hire veterans, how do they have an initiative? So for an organization like Tao Hospitality, how many tech jobs do you think that Tao Hospitality has? Not very many, maybe 4, right? But the conversation that I had with them, I said, hey, as long as you commit to being a partner with us, we're going to help you try and place any one of those 4. But the partnership means then you get to sit at the table with all of the other partners. And do you think that Tao being able to sit at the same table of all of these companies is going to be beneficial for them? Heck yes, it is. And for that, we get free nightclub experience all the time.
Yeah. Just kidding. Which is nice. But we've also talked about, we have a lot of kinds of tech in Vegas that aren't traditional Silicon Valley tech either, right? So when people talk about tech, especially when we talk about Vets in Tech, people are thinking coding, they're thinking cybersecurity, they're thinking web design, all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of entertainment here. We have a lot of entertainment tech. We have a lot of things that are happening and moving really cutting edge state of the art things that need smart young people to go operate lighting systems, sound systems. I went down to Channel 13 and was amazed because I thought that was just going to be, let's talk about how you guys can hire some veterans and maybe you've got a cybersecurity job or, some kind of tech job like that. That entire television station, all the cameras are robots.
Yeah.
Those robots are programmed by young kids who are probably no older than the kids who are working up at the Air Force bases now. And that is how the news broadcast works there. There are no union guys pointing cameras at anything anymore at Channel 13 unless something breaks and they can't fix it. There are a bunch of kids in a control room prepping the news broadcast 30 minutes before it goes, running it just like we might see in one of our control rooms in the Air Force, right? Yeah. So tech is not necessarily being there and coding or doing cybersecurity. Correct. We have a lot of unique opportunities for tech here that other cities don't have. And that's some of what we want to bring to the community here, is that awareness of, just because you don't have a coding job for a veteran or a coding job for a military spouse, there might be tech or tech adjacent things that we can help you with if you're looking to hire. And who is trying to hire veterans right now? Yeah. Anybody here who's looking for talent and having a hard time finding it? Veterans can be great, but there's also, when you hire a veteran, there's some things that come along with that. We're really trying here to bridge that gap and let employers know, when you hire a veteran, you're getting someone with initiative. You're going to get someone who's going to solve your problems before you know you've got a problem. We're going to get someone who, probably with the rest of your employees, are going to make a little waves for a while, and that's going to create a little bit of conflict. But there are ways to manage that conflict and get through it. And so that's part of what we're trying to do in the local chapter, is smooth that transition for veterans coming out of the military and going into that employment, and smooth the transition for the employers who may not have worked with veterans before and may not fully understand what it is they're getting when they get a veteran and all the advantages that come with that.
Yeah, so part of what we're looking at doing here, Jason and I are working on a Dream 100 campaign to try and understand at least 100 of the top employers in the state of Nevada that would consider hiring veterans for tech jobs, and trying to understand what they need. As you mentioned, TAL, their first question is, what about lighting, design, sound? That is all technical jobs. Does that count? I can promise, even though not in the official capacity, what I want to do is I want to help understand, okay, so if there's 1,000 of those tech jobs on the strip, how do we find out where do those people get certified? And if we can create any kind of partnership with their school under the Vets in Tech brand, then everybody wins, right? That's another college, or that's another resource that we've now partnered with to say, hey, we're helping provide this education to 1,000 veterans, 500 veterans a year, whatever, and then we're helping place those with our partner organizations in New York City, Las Vegas, LA.
Just because there's not a Vets in Tech Academy program for your kind of tech,
we can create
the local chapter will still help you find veterans to go fill those jobs for you. That's really important to me.
So so employment and education really do go hand in hand, right? It's getting them educated and getting them certified for the jobs, but then placing them with those partners. One of the areas that Vets in Tech has been successful, but where they're really looking to ramp up and engage here in Las Vegas, is through entrepreneurship. They have done several very specific incubators, accelerators, programs in conjunction with some of those same partners on the banner, because being based in Silicon Valley has done a lot to help them, bring different veterans, veteran-led organizations into that startup network. And as everyone knows and sees, so especially with what Joshua Levitt's building here with Tech Alley, things that they're building with Startup NV and Startup Vegas, we are really primed to be one of the next big cities to blow up in the world of entrepreneurship. Some of the things that we hope to see are more direct partnerships with the venture capitalists, with some of the other organizations like Startup Nevada or Startup NV, Startup Vegas. In fact, is Oracle on that list?
Oracle.
So when Oracle,
I don't know if
they're not on this list.
Oh, they are. Yep.
Yep. Oracle. So when Oracle did their big Oracle World or whatever it was,
Sweet World.
Yeah, Sweet World at where was that?
Sands, I think, or
I think it was Caesar's Palace. Either way, somewhere on the Strip. They had a whole lot of the venture capitalists and everybody coming in from Silicon Valley. Ikram, who is the COO, she's a combat veteran, highly decorated. She reached out to me and she said, hey, do you think the founders of Startup NV and Startup Vegas would want to come to this dinner with us? We got them into that dinner. Yep. They got into 4 more dinners because of that. And the one thing, if you guys don't know, And if any of you are venture capitalists secretly sitting in the seats, cool, high five. I'm not here to talk down. A lot of venture capitalists have their money in the state of Nevada right now, right? They have their money here, but they're not playing their money. They're housing it for taxes, but they're not playing it on the street or in programs like this. But I believe that as soon as one big organization does, right, one big organization starts to play their money, then it becomes this domino effect, and the deal flow in this whole city starts to blow up. Then we wake up in a world where, you know, every coffee shop that we go to are probably some of the most brilliant coders, some of the brilliant strategic minds on the planet, all here because this is going to be the playground where pardon my French, shit gets done.
Yep. What's funny is probably in Kurt's talk right now, he's probably saying the same thing about venture capitalists have a lot of their money here in Nevada, but they're not playing their money here. Yeah. And that's another one of the bridges we want to build with Vets and Tech, with Startup NV, with Startup Vegas, with the venture capitalists, is helping veteran entrepreneurs in particular, but the ecosystem in general, build good pitches. Yeah. Be ready to go to those VCs, be ready to, or angel investors, and have a really good shot going in and getting an investment out of there. Yeah. Helping set them up for success to give the best pitch that they can give. And I can tell you, because I'm a mentor for Startup NV and involved in Startup Vegas, and we have a lot of great ideas here, but we do have some work to do to help get those pitches really solid so that VCs and angel investors are willing to dive in and play their money here in Las Vegas.
There it is.
And that's something Vets and Tech can help us all with.
So in addition to the three pillars, diversity, equity, and inclusion is another big focus. As you guys get to become more involved with any of the programs and stuff that we do, you'll meet some of the key people that run the organization. Ikram, you know, she's from, I always get it wrong, is it Morocco? She's Moroccan. Yeah. But she worked all the way up to the NSA, right? So she was in a combat unit with the 101st Airborne.
82nd, I thought.
82nd Airborne.
She was fully airborne qualified.
Yeah, she's a combat soldier. And then later, when she went to work at the I don't remember if it was NSA, but it was through NSA. The security side. NSA, like she was the advisor for the entire military for Twitter, right? So that's where she made some of these incredible contacts. But they also see the power of diversity, equity, inclusion, in everything that we do.
It's funny because the talent involved in Vets and Tech on the corporate side of it is great, but some of the folks we met, which surprised me at the gala a couple weeks ago, we met 4 or 5 veterans who are transitioning out. They're getting ready to get out, and they're looking for their next gig. And some of them are interested in entrepreneurship. Some of them are interested in taking
one of them was a Navy SEAL.
We met 2 Navy SEALs, and then 2 Navy SEALs were like, "How can you help me?" And I was like, "I don't think any Navy SEAL has ever asked me that before." Yeah. So how can you help me with this transition? So there's a lot of talent out there that's trying to figure out where to go. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to help, not just in Las Vegas, but we're trying to help everyone we can with what Vets and Tech has to offer and point them in the right direction and build those bridges.
Very true. So a couple of events that they do on more of the national level is they do the Vets and Tech Gala, which we just went to in San Francisco. That is always most likely going to be held in San Francisco because it's their home base. They have the Vets and Tech Invasion.
We're going to get it here.
We're bringing it here. We're bringing our version of it here.
2025 it'll be here.
There it is. Vets and Tech Invasion, that's a tech event, or I'm sorry, that's an online virtual conference where they bring in lots of different speakers and things of that nature. And then this is a newer deck, but the big event that they did, and this is always just to add a little bit of gravity, because yes, we are new to Vegas, but we're not new to the United States. The fundraiser that they did this year was an opening golf tournament at Pebble Beach that was an opener to the U.S. Women's Open, right? And they raised millions of dollars at that event because that's the level that they're trying to do that fundraising. So some of the events and things like that we're suggesting are going to be ones that are going to be more adaptable to this market. Again, not officially contracts signed, but just talking with Josh Levitt, we're looking at sponsoring some of the Tech Alley events next year. We're looking at launching a weekly night to accelerate and be a catalyst from all the things that happen at like a Tech Alley that can go into something that may be a little bit more specific to the Vets and Tech pillars. However, it's going to be inclusive to the community as well, because if you know this, we have people coming in to the city every day all coming from different backgrounds, all coming with different networks, and we want to make sure that we can adequately plug everybody in.
None of this is to brag about high-powered partners and golf tournaments at Pebble Beach and galas in San Francisco. That's just to let you know who's involved with this.
Yep.
It's about bringing these kinds of things that are going to make a practical difference in the community here, in Las Vegas, and beyond. But that's going to help veterans get employment. That's going to help veterans become entrepreneurs. That's going to help the tech workforce develop here in Las Vegas so that any founder can get the tech talent they need to make it happen. A couple things that are not on here that I do want to talk about at the practical level. In January, and you'll find these on vetsintech.co or the Vets in Tech Eventbrite, they have all these free events that you can go to online. And they have if you want to learn Python, they do that every couple of months. They do kind of an intro to Python course online. They do these job fairs that I talked about. And that's not like these companies are out there going, hey, maybe someday you'll work for us. The companies that show up to this are hiring today. They are making their pitch in the main room, and then they're doing breakout rooms with little mini interviews with groups of people because they are hiring veterans today for remote jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very true. And I just want to, we'll close and we'll have plenty of time for questions, or you'll be able to get to some of the other sessions. Fun story how this whole thing even came about, right? I used to be with another organization called Bunker Labs. Mike's from that program, but like one of the things there is the focus was primarily entrepreneurship, right? To help veterans start and grow businesses. I served that organization for 4 years. We actually had a fly-in down to Austin, Texas. Anybody been to Austin? Anybody familiar with the startup scene down there? They've got a pretty killer one. So I went you guys may have heard me talk outside. I'm also the state coordinator for Global Entrepreneurship Week, right? I was last August. We were on our group call for all of the state coordinators and community organizers across the United States. I just happened to say, hey, I'm coming to Austin next week. Is anybody in Austin? Guy raises his hand. Come down to the Capital Factory. Let's grab coffee.
Was that George?
No, it was Josh Baer, the CEO of the Capital Factory, which the Capital Factory, if you're not familiar, it's a hotel that's also like home to a lot of the venture capitalists. There's a lot of accelerators, incubators, phenomenal facility. Well, Vets in Tech, I went 3 days early for the training that I was supposed to go to, and it just so happened that Vets in Tech had a conference down there. So I'd never been exposed to Vets in Tech at all. I am the late adopter for everything, for the latest adopter. I'm probably the only person in a 5-mile radius who has not used ChatGPT other than a few homeless people, and there's some homeless people that have used it.
His laptop has a straight up regular HDMI style
HDMI on it still. I'm a very late adopter. So Vets in Tech kind of freaked me out, but I was very impressed by the Capital Factory and by what Vets in Tech was doing. And I had mentioned it to Jason. Jason raised his hand and said, well, hey, they kind of used to have a chapter here, but somebody wasn't really involved. He raised his hand. That started the connection to start building that here in Las Vegas. Fast forward to last fall, the big military influencer conference that some of you may know that happened again just this year at Resorts World. Last year they launched the chapter, right? Cut the ribbon, free chicken nuggets and all that stuff.
Free t-shirts.
Yeah, free t-shirts just to say, hey, we're here, we're getting started. I still was just like, Vets in Tech, kind of weird, right? 3 days after the conference, some friends said, hey, we're meeting some girls from the conference at dinner. Sit down at Benihana. Right? I sit down next to Ikram, who I didn't really know who she was. I guess we'd been on like 2 Zoom calls before. She's the COO. Made the joke. This started from a joke. This is how incredible the city is. The lady goes, oh, are we celebrating anything? I was like, yeah, we're twins. It's our birthday. She totally believed us. Took our photo. We got desserts brought out and everything. That started a friendship to where now we've done 7 dinners where we make people believe that we're twins and it's our birthday. But it's a fun thing, but because I've got to spend more time with her and spend more time with that organization, now this is where, next Tech Alley, I may have a subtle little Vets in Tech tattoo on my neck with a QR code on the back of my neck. So now seeing what they're truly able to do and the people that they're able to help, we're dedicating a lot of our energy and time to this organization.
Can you page back? I want to go to Vets in Tech Startup Network.
Startup Network?
Yeah.
On
one more, I think.
This one?
Yeah, here we go. So We talked a lot about the workforce stuff. We talked about kind of generally about entrepreneurship, but now starting this past year, Vets in Tech has done this startup network, and they have had pitch competitions, and they're really helping veteran. Besides the three pillars, they're really trying to help bring in capital to veteran-owned businesses as well. And we all know access to capital is one of the really hard things for an entrepreneur in Las Vegas. If Vets in Tech can help with that access to capital, this is out here now, and if you're a veteran entrepreneur, you can get involved in the Vets in Tech startup network right now, be part of that program, start to see how you can either build relationships with investors, build your company to be ready to pitch investors, and possibly participate in one of the Vets in Tech pitch competitions, or use the connections in Vets in Tech to try to get yourself into pitch investors. So we talked real briefly about this. I wanted to make sure that we talked about it's not just about skills. Vets in Tech is actually trying to do things to help founders and entrepreneurs as well to build successful businesses, not just the tech side. Do you want to talk at all about your vision for the upcoming year?
Sure. My vision is always insane. It's big. One of the opportunities that I've seen through some of my mentors, coaches, and people that I've worked with, there's actually a good friend of mine. I'm from Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Good friend of mine who's also a veteran. He went through one of the startup programs with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the professional basketball team. And back at the end of pandemic, he actually pitched a very similar program to the Raiders called the Raider Accelerator. And that would be an opportunity to do an incubator with a pro sports team. Because of some of the people that are involved and some of the partners that we have that are interested from the Vets in Tech side, we did pitch the Vegas Golden Knights, and it wasn't that it wasn't a good idea. It just their priority for what they're working on was a little bit different.
Wasn't the right fit.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the right fit, but we're working on that pitch now to pitch that same idea with the Raiders. And if that goes through, we have a couple hard deadlines by like December 10th to get some verbal commitments there. And if that works, then we're at least the Raiders are open to that conversation. But the idea would be that at the Super Bowl, we're able to announce the Raider Accelerator program for Q4 of 2024. And what that would do is that would create kind of that central thing that everyone can get behind and celebrate, but the road to get there means a lot more partnerships, a lot more pitch competitions, a lot more deal flow, a lot more activity in the community. So I see a lot of new partnerships from the Las Vegas Valley and the state of Nevada, but that would be the funnest way to celebrate all that, is to do something that, while 15 other pro sports teams are doing some version of that, this would be the first one that's veteran led. It wouldn't be exclusive to veterans, but the program, the incubator itself, would be sort of that milestone for Vets in Tech to say, hey, this is what we do. And then my job would be to go do it in other cities.
I want to open it up for questions and talk about how we can help all of you, how Vets in Tech can help all of you. I'm going to make one last ask. One of the big challenges in the Vegas entrepreneur ecosystem, veteran or otherwise, is we need really good mentors, both tech mentors and business mentors, to help founders, whether they are veteran or not, coming up. And so please think about helping us out with these Vets in Tech things, being a mentor to a young veteran who's thinking about getting into the tech community, who's thinking about entrepreneurship. Please come to our stuff. Please be in touch with us, and I'll be in touch with you as well. But we really want to start getting some bodies to these Vets in Tech events and getting a broader perspective behind just what Dave and I bring to it. So we're really looking for everyone in this room and everyone who is a veteran or wants to support veterans to be a mentor in the ecosystem as well.
And for me, it's not about shouting from the rooftops and be like, oh my gosh. I don't expect you to go get a neck tattoo for Vets in Tech. But who is one person, whether it be a veteran, a transitioning service member, whether it be somebody that works for one of those companies, whether it be somebody that works for a company that has hired veterans, who's one person that we can introduce to the organization? Because what I've learned is one introduction can change somebody's life.
Yep. And we want to bring those young kids who are working on the base right now, who are thinking about maybe getting out in the next 12 to 18 months, to you as well, and see how those veterans, as they transition out, can be part of what you're doing.
There it is. Any questions?
How can we help you? How can we help JT4? I knew it when it was JT3, so.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually think you rose his hand first.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a vet, not combat vet, but vet, and been in Vegas since last year.
Okay.
I worked in Ghana, West Africa, in the entrepreneurship system there with NGOs. I'm an urban planner and a supply chain. And so I'm prefacing that because like in the black community, we're known for food deserts. And I'm really going to be pressing the issue that, you know, we're also known as an entrepreneurship desert as well.
Are you connected with Elias?
Yeah, that was my first thought. Is we
He,
would
he just left.
Yep.
He's
We'll get
going to
you-
record
we'll get you
another
connected
session.
at
If
lunch.
you haven't connected with Elias, please let me connect you with Elias.
Okay.
Yes, because he does a lot on the historic West Side and with Nevada Partners and Promise Startups.
Perfect.
There's a big, large network of people that are working on those same issues. So
That's a perfect
I'd
fit.
love to help you join
is
that
Promise
fight.
Startups, or Nevada Promise and Promise Startups, and how Vets in Tech can work with those two organizations to help with food deserts, entrepreneurial deserts, all the kinds of deserts we have on the west side of town here.
Yep.
So all that to say, yeah, I'm very interested in being originally from LA and also Black and gay.
Yeah.
Basketball business that I see a lot of opportunity regionally. So
Awesome.
I'm in.
Love that. We'll plug you in.
Yeah, we'll get your information before you walk out of here.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I actually did have a question. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you see with veterans transitioning? And do you think that Vets in Tech solves that challenge?
Are you guys ready for my TED Talk? I did a TED Talk on this subject. My first public talk was a TEDx talk about veteran transition 2014. That conversation has evolved to answer that. You're not a paid actor, but thank you for asking that question. Thank you for that, because the challenge that I see in veterans transitioning is there's actually two conversations. There's one conversation that is very much post-traumatic stress and one that is very much post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic stress is a conversation that ends very badly, and there are lots of organizations that can help support that conversation. The biggest challenge is that a lot of times, and this isn't me hating on that, it's a very necessary evil, right? A lot of those organizations are a handout that don't solve the root problem. And to me, the root problem is, do they want to grow or do they want to not? Right? So in those two conversations, Vets in Tech is very much on the post-traumatic growth side. Education, entrepreneurship, employment, those are things that you never stop learning, right? Especially for anybody that's taken the oath of becoming an entrepreneur, it does not end. There is no retirement, right? You're always going to be an entrepreneur. You're always going to be continuing to grow. And for that, it's a different kind of mindset. On the post-traumatic stress side, a lot of times the effects of that are homelessness and things. And it's amazing how many conversations that I've come from just like this, where the first thing that people do run up and they want to connect me with is they want to connect me with a veteran, somebody who's trying to build small, tiny houses for veterans or something like that. Not that that's not an important conversation. It's just, it's two different sets of challenges. So we try to be a catalyst on that. The more, in my opinion, the more veterans that we can get good jobs, we can do all that stuff, they're going to, in turn, inspire other veterans and hopefully break them out of that transition. But to me, it's whichever conversation you feed does get stronger, right? So this is a never-ending battle for us to get more employers, to get more people certified. So this is where a lot of my energy goes to. So the biggest challenge that I believe veterans are faced with when they transition is just what they don't know. Not knowing the programs and the opportunities that are out there, and making sure that they aren't susceptible to that post-traumatic stress conversation, and they keep feeding that. So I do come from a combat veteran background, right? I was in Darwin, Australia when 9/11 happened. That was my first port of call for our first deployment ever, and the world changed forever. So everyone has a different path that they go through the military, as long as they, realize that just getting out of the military doesn't guarantee you anything. It's still going to be work, and you still have choices to make.
Yeah, there are a lot of veterans programs, and we don't want to say no to them.
Yeah.
But we're also not going to say, yes, here's money. What we're going to do here with Vets and Tech is we're going to be a yes and.
Yeah.
You're working on the homes thing, you're working on the homelessness thing, you're working on the addiction thing. We're working on this. So how do we do this together? So it's always a yes and. There's a second part of what you don't know. And I didn't figure this out until I got involved with Vets and Tech a year and a half ago. I retired as Lieutenant Colonel in 2015 and been an entrepreneur ever since. Until I got involved with Vets and Tech and trying to prepare veterans for transition, it didn't click with me that as a Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force, if one of my young kids had come to me and said, I'm thinking about a career in tech, what should I do? I would have gone, I don't know, I can probably get you a contractor job in the office if you want, right? And so I think we have a real unique opportunity here as part of Vets and Tech and as veterans who are out in the world to build those relationships with the active duty folks and the civilians on base. Who took TAP when they got out? Yeah, what'd you think?
Transition assistance program.
Right?
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Right. Most people are neutral on it at best, right? So another opportunity we really have as Vets and Tech is we build a relationship with the base, the active duty officers, the active duty NCOs, the civilians who are up on base, including the organizations that run TAP and things like that, is we can go in and we can help them understand what the opportunities are for young people in Las Vegas if they decide to stay. Yeah. So I'm really trying to bring some of those senior officers, senior NCOs, mid-level folks who are probably going to do their career in the Air Force so that they have knowledge and information, because a lot of their young kids are not going to do a career. They're going to do 1 tour, 2 tours, and then they're going to get out. We want to be able to have the conversation, whether it's us having the conversation or really good mentors who can say, there are opportunities for you in the tech world if you get out of the military. But when I was in, I wouldn't have been able to tell you anything about employment on the outside.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah, or how to engage with you guys. So I'm a founder of Persona Foundation. I'm a new layer 1 blockchain crypto that's going to be launching and listing here in the next few months. 6 years now.
Cool.
Finally implemented the code. Written the most advanced compute system the world has ever seen and the most advanced monetary supply model that's ever been done in the history of the world. One of the projects now, we started this out as an IoT platform. I've got 3 million lines of code that are sitting in a folder. I was on a unified capabilities approved product list with the DoD for all real-time common voice video chat messaging runs over the internet. Problem was it was an unfunded mandate, so of course nobody can use it, right?
Yeah.
Now that we have to build our native blockchain because no blockchain out there would enable what we needed. One of the first projects that we have is I put 150,000 square foot Global Innovation and Research Institute here in Las Vegas. And I've got a QOZ opportunity right now opened up on it. It's going to be, we're going to have a venture studio, co-working spaces, lecture halls, all standards bodies, and all nonprofits will have a space for free when they want to do lectures and such like that. The idea is, and a lot of these companies will be part of the research floor itself. The idea is to get everybody under one roof. So a smart city, for instance, has different silos, and every single research center in the world, each one of those silos is its own research center, and they're not talking to each other. So I don't care what a mayor says. Being able to update your parking meter on an app is not a smart city, right?
Yeah. It's not as smart as you'd like it.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking for is a few things. First of all, people, we're open source product. We're fully open source on everything that we have. The IoT message bus, the blockchain and everything. It's just, pay the node operators for the transaction fee when you're going over it. Really focused on that other 96% of the population, not the 4% that are, head over heels on MEMS and NFTs and shit. Yeah. I'm looking for the 96% that have milk and tuition and everything else that they have to pay. So as far as the vet side goes, I've been very involved in the DoD for quite some time. One of my past partners at the company was Major General Doug Stone, Petraeus Golden Silent Hero of Iraqi Surge. He's the one that said, these aren't all radical, we got to release into programs. Wrote the rule of law and justice for McChrystal and Holbrook over in Afghanistan. He was CEO in there, so got really deep tied into and have got some just horror stories about those lieutenant colonels and colonels that wanted to become general officers and what they were compromised in order to do that.
I was there.
Yeah.
Huh.
I had one with the CEO of MAGTEF, the program director for GCSSMC, the C4 and the C2 leads, and what the CEO of the MAGTEF said, you would just, you would want to shoot him. For what happened. Anyways, really looking for partnerships, looking for people to learn. We use Python as a programming language.
Cool. Okay, that's great.
Learn Saga Python. We're going to be funding entrepreneurs that come in.
Yeah.
And so whatever, however we can work and get the Prasaga
there's
logo on the partners.
Definitely an opportunity for partnership. What that looks like, not 100% sure.
Right.
What we're trying to do first is establish who all of our partners in this community are, learn the best way to leverage them, and then that's what's going to also help us create a pipeline, whether the pipeline be from somewhere here locally in Nevada, or if we're pulling a pipeline from other communities. I have some ties to do that as well.
Yep.
But we the first step is raising your hand. The second step is, as we start to create some of the programming and the foundation for where we're going to be and what we're building here, to have you involved in those conversations and really have a better understanding what that looks like. If you remember, I still have an HDMI. I'm the least tech person, so a lot of that stuff that you said went way over my head. But I just know that there is a partnership opportunity there. It's really better understanding, what specifically are you looking for. And then if we can help you find that, then we'll go to great links to help that.
What's great is it sounds like you have real recurring employment needs coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something we can go to the base with. We can go do a job fair at the base. We could go do some kind of event at the base or have an event at your place, and we can bring a bunch of employers and say, I have real employment needs. And then we can help build the pipeline through either vets and tech programs or other local partners, so that, again, 12 to 18 months out, young kids who are thinking about getting out of the Air Force, we can say to them, if you like Vegas and you want to stay here, we can help you find, we can help you get you into this program to learn Python, give you an opportunity to get a job here.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, just to point, I always say we did not build this to be in business. We built this to enable business.
Cool. I love it.
And that's what this entire nonprofit platform is about.
Well, one thing that I didn't mention, and I didn't even tell you when we were talking about this earlier, for that Q3, I have the initiative or the idea for fundraising.
Yep.
But Q2, a big milestone for Q2 next year would be a very large partnership with a job hiring fair. Yes, there's going to be the traditional things that all people think. Again, we're not trying to change anyone's minds. We're just trying to help people understand more of what veterans are capable of, because most of the jobs that most people associate with are law enforcement, security, things like that. Not that that's a bad thing. Jobs are jobs, but if we can piggyback off of one of the big hiring fairs or launch our own, something that is going to bring that magnet of people in, that's what we want to do.
Something that gets those young kids on base and their senior leaders saying, for this kid who's thinking about getting out, what are their opportunities? And they've had the light shown on them enough times to go, let's call the Vets and Tech folks.
There it is.
And let's get them connected with a Vets and Tech partner.
How do you connect with Hire Our Heroes?
So I can't speak to that. There probably is some type of a partnership there for what that is. I'm not sure. A lot of ours are direct hire to these organizations. I'm sure there's been a few of those that we've helped introduce to Hire Our Heroes. And again, our thing isn't to go start fights with other organizations. One of the biggest challenges in the military community is there's so many organizations. I used to make the joke. In fact, I was on a podcast, Travis Johnson's podcast.
Yeah, Travis Johnson, good dude.
He had a podcast called The Nonprofit Architect, and he asked me to be on it. And I was like, you trying to get people to start nonprofits? Because if that's what you want, I'm not the person for that. Because I will tell people, I've had so many veterans reach out to me because they're like, hey, you're the guy that helps people start businesses, right? Sure. And they're like, I got this idea for a nonprofit. And I'm like, have you already started? No. Okay, don't. Because there's so much, everywhere there's a new nonprofit, it creates competition where there should be collaboration. And 9 times out of 10, people say, there's nobody in the market doing this, nowhere in the country, and there's somebody in Henderson that's got the exact same thing.
There's somebody
and they
here
just
today
didn't even
doing it.
Google it. Is there a program for veterans with dogs?
I like your PTSD to
Yeah.
Because you lose that in the battle, right?
Yeah.
There's so many horrors that you see.
Yeah.
That, and that's what we really want to try to expose the self-worth back in.
Yeah.
In those options.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not always as extreme as some people think it is. And it's so interesting because some people, they just loop that in, and it's like I've come from presentations crazier than this, and then as soon as I walk away, somebody's like, I've got some socks in my car that if you could just give them to a veteran, like that's all I can do to help. And I'm just like, you missed the whole point. You missed the whole point. Not that that's a bad thing. Like I actually have like 6 of those bags in my car, and I will give those out. But it's like that's not.
You're dealing with a generation of
Different fight.
6-second Vine videos.
Right.
That were raised on it.
Oh,
That's
and-
veterans band of Nats.
And I'll say, looking back over it after some of our conversations with the good folks who are transitioning right now,
Yeah.
those conversations a couple weeks ago, I look back on my own transition, and I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. And I look back on it, and I think it was more difficult than I let on at the time how challenging transition out of the military can be.
And I was driving a ditch witch.
Yeah, well, we know. If you want to hear his story, watch my podcast. So.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, I did talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to do that. He'll tell you his story at lunch.
It's a crazy story.
Transition, I think, when you're in the middle of it doesn't seem too bad. And I think, I know looking back at my own, after some of those conversations with Matt and John and some of those guys a couple weeks ago, it's like, I didn't really have any support or help.
And there's a lot of great programs for stuff like that. There's a phenomenal program here. It's only in 5 cities, I think, called MVP, Merging Vets and Players.
MVP is
what
great.
they learned is pro sports athletes go through a lot of the same transition. Their identity is tied to who they were as a pro sports athlete, right? Injuries, if that is your job, like again, it's never to say one job is more important in the military, but like as a Marine Corps infantryman, right? My mission was to locate, close with, destroy the enemy, and repel the enemy's assault by fire, maneuver, in close combat. If that was my job and I hurt my knee, like I'm worthless. And then that does a spiral. So MVP nurtures that side. And it's like, hey, so we get in there with like pro athletes and we do little workouts. Like it's at Randy Couture's gym, right? We hang out with Randy Couture. And then after that, we go and sit and have real conversations about what we're going through, what the struggles are, and resources to help. So there are programs that do nurture that. And for us, we want to shine a spotlight on all of them because there is no one entree that's going to help you, right? It needs to be a buffet of selection, and at any time you could be like, I don't eat meat anymore, right? I need to go get some veggies, and it's like I don't want to do the tech thing anymore. What if I do want to go do this or that, and make sure that we connect people to the right organization.
I know we almost finished, but I'm glad you're here, partly because as I came back from, I lived in West Africa for 8 years and came back and had to do transition housing with the vets. There's a lot of folks, the infrastructure is, do you have a service-related thing?
Yep.
And I'm not that.
Right.
But everybody
neither.
wanted to sell me service-related and give me any kind of food service job.
Yeah.
I'm a tech guy. I
Yep.
worked 10 years at HP, et cetera.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying that from the Pareto side, this 20% focus of trying to help move the folks who are exiting into the bigger opportunity as opposed to just selling, the Vegas food service job.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, opportunity is really what this is all about. And to echo what Dave said, we are building bridges here. We're not trying to take anything over. We're not trying to replace anything. You guys remember the movie School of Rock? Yeah. And that part where the kid is like, he's noodling around with a guitar with a little sheet of paper, and Jack Black comes over and says, "What are you doing over here?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." And he's like, he grabs the piece of paper. He says, "What is this?" He's like, "It's just a stupid song I wrote." And Jack Black says, "We got to play this song." And the kid says, "You want to play my song?" And Jack Black says, "We're in a band."
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We play each other's songs.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping as a chapter lead Vets in Tech does, is we're playing each other's songs. We're not trying to take over the band. We're not trying to be the lead singer, the lead guitarist. We're playing each other's songs. And that goes not just for the veterans part of this, but the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem in Las Vegas. I want to see us playing each other's songs, going to each other's events, supporting each other's organizations. And that means Vets in Tech, maybe Dave and I show up, or we all show up representing Vets in Tech, but it's not our thing and we're not pushing Vets in Tech that day. We're just there for you guys.
You'll see me wear a couple different jerseys in this town.
So, what else? We got a few minutes.
So, you mentioned briefly that some companies experience conflict when veterans hire. So I haven't really seen that much. Like throughout my
Can't hire me.
Maybe because of my background is Air Force, but it's a very collaborative group.
Yeah.
When you see that happen, why would that be, and what can companies do to like avoid that?
It's less so in tech. It's more in other industries. It's more, you hire a veteran, and then the veteran comes in and says, oh, what we're doing is super messed up. And then they go, here's how we're going to fix it. And it creates conflict with the other employees, right? So you see a lot of that. Or it creates conflict with the manager. The manager wants things done a certain way. The vet comes in and sees, look, this is super messed up. It might even be illegal. We need to change how we're doing things, right? And that's not always received well. And so that's one of the things I hope we can do too is if we are helping vets transition to employers who have never worked with vets before, help prepare those employers for when you hire a vet, this is what you get. This is someone who's here because not just for the money, they care about what you're doing. They wouldn't be working for you if they didn't care about what you're doing. They want to see everybody on this team succeed. Understand that when a vet comes to work for you, they want to see the team succeed because that's what we're all trained and ingrained to do. So if not everybody there is kind of let's all cooperate and graduate and make sure everybody succeeds on the team, it might create a little conflict. And just be prepared for that. And there's ways you can deal with that as well. Yeah. But there are actually folks here today in the security world who can talk about that. And
well, I make jokes. I'm not hireable only because this is true. Like a lot of the organizations that I have come on board with, my vision outweighs that of the visionary because I see things from a global perspective. I just do now. And then a lot of times I'll be like, hey, we got to be doing this. We got to be doing that. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, that's just not a priority for us. I'm like, well, it should be. So the conflict for me comes with change management, leadership.
That's the key point because that is the issue. We are in the midst of a major change management piece, and most people are business as usual.
Yeah,
this is the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
And they want to use the fact that you come from military and this is commercial to try to use it as a crutch to say, well, it's just because you're military and we're commercial. So it's beyond.
Yeah. So another misconception, right, is that all military people color inside the lines. I do not. I will make sure the lines are in the right place first before I color inside those lines. Yep. And a lot of times they're not, right? I see this I wear a lot of different jerseys. You mentioned food service. So one of the projects that I'm working on right now, which was kind of a curveball for me, I work with the president of the World Pizza Champions. He's responsible for 78 pizzerias all around the world. We created a coaching program specifically for restaurants. He comes from a military family. He went to the Marine Corps. He got out because he has type 1 diabetes. His brother was in the Marine Corps. His dad was one of the original recruiters at Times Square. So they come from a very military background, which is how he has 14 different brick and mortar locations all in one city, and he's home for dinner every night. But trying to teach that to other restaurateurs, they're just like, it's never possible. And then that's where, if I went to go work for one of those restaurants, I would probably flip a table over. And because it is possible that they're just coloring inside the lines that they believe to be true. Ladies and gentlemen, Megan Buckley. Any other questions? Excited to connect with you, my friend. Again, we're in the slow turn of the year, but as we ramp up and get more of these locked in, our full intent is to be partnered with a couple organizations and really start having those conversations. So you might be the first. I
want to make sure we collect all your information so we can, the next time we do something, whether it's here at Tech Alley or another event, that we get you guys all there too.
Let's do it. And I want to make sure that we connect you with Elias and see some of the phenomenal work they're doing as well. All right.
All right. Thank you for coming.
All right.